Hey, this is Christine Boatwright, the creative director of Sparkler Magazine. I'm here with DT Powell. We're going to talk about her writing journey and her story in our debut issue. And yeah, we're just excited. We live in the same town, so we get to do this together, which is so much better than doing it on Zoom, because what an awkward hassle. So yeah, so welcome.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm really happy to be able to do this in person. It's always so much fun.
So much better. Okay, well, let's jump right in. Tell us about where did the writing bug bite? Like, how did it start?
Oh my, that is a very long story. I've actually gotten to tell this story a few times on some podcasts and some interviews, etc. Basically, when I was about 12 years old, God brought a story into my life that really changed the way that I looked at the world, myself, salvation, Him, just all of that. And what it did was it really hit home the joy of my salvation. So I started writing from that because I wanted to express that. But I didn't start with writing. I started with everything but writing.
Okay.
So I went with visual art and music and all kinds of other different expressions that weren't writing. So when I finally got out of college, after I had gotten cut from an art degree and had to change majors and all of this drama, I was unemployed for 4 months. And I was like, Lord, I know that I need to tell people about this, but I have no clue how. So when I was sitting alone in my room, and there was a pen underneath my computer monitor, and it just kind of hit me. It's like, you've tried everything else except this. So I started writing then. I was 22, I think, at the time, and I have not stopped.
Okay, so a 10-year gap between feeling kind of a call and jumping on it.
Yep.
Good to know, though. Did it take like some life experience, you think, to actually set you off? I mean,
it was probably a combination of I wasn't ready to do it.
Sure.
And just me being stubborn and not seeing what was right in front of me.
Okay.
Which happens a lot. I've had it happen a number of times otherwise, so it's not unexpected. But yeah, part of it is just that I needed more life experience.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so why? So I'm guessing this wasn't a year ago. So why are you still writing YA? Why did you pick YA? Why is that still where you are?
I actually don't write a lot of YA, dedicated YA.
Okay.
I write a lot of adult that is YA friendly.
Sure.
So it would be more for that, 16 to 18 window, because there are people who really love to do the 12 to 15, the 15, 16, all of that. I prefer that older age bracket, that like 16 to 18 for YA. So what you'll see from me a lot is books with adult characters, but it's about stuff that maybe YA kids can relate to, or things that an older YA kid aging into that college and adult phase needs to deal with. So, for example, I recently wrote a novella about church hurt, which is something that a lot of probably teenagers have experienced. I experienced it as a teenager. So it's about an adult going through that, but an older YA age teenager can relate to that and can be able to see that played out just in a setting that they can understand.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And what a great vehicle to use to reach people who are dealing with those same issues, right?
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, the story you wrote for us, are these characters that exist elsewhere? Was this all on its own? Where'd it come from?
A lot of times when I write short stories and flash fiction, I've done about 60 of them over the past 7 or 8 years. A lot of the time, what I'll get is a character and maybe a significant moment, something like that, and then I'll just go off of that. So these are not characters that existed previously.
Okay.
It was just, okay, here's an idea, let's go, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So it was really fun. When I got to the ending, I did not know the ending. So when I got there, I had to figure out the ending. I actually had to rewrite the ending about 3 or 4 times. So, but it got where it needed to go, and that was the important part.
It's a fun ending, and I like how you leave it kind of mysterious.
Yeah.
It's a good choice. Okay, so you have a lot of experience writing flash fiction. Do you have any tips? Like, how do you approach it? how do you even start? It's kind of intimidating because it's short, so you think it'd be easy, but it's not as easy as it looks.
Oh yeah. People talk all the time about how to write a novel and what their experiences are with writing a novel, but a lot of times your short fiction, especially your flash fiction and your short stories, get ignored, which is really sad. But they're a totally different discipline than novels, because a novel is, if you're a planner, you sit down, you do your outline, you figure out who you're working with, what on earth is going on, all of that, and then you go and write the novel. If you're like me, you kind of figure out a couple things, and then you go and you figure it out as you go. Short stories are a tad bit different because you don't have 300 pages to figure out this world and these people and all of this stuff that's going on. You have, a lot of times with a short story, max maybe 10 to 15,000 words. Not a lot of room. With this, you're looking at about 1,000 words, which is even less than that. So you have to be very focused. That is one of the key things for short fiction is focus. So you can't have a ton of main characters. You're probably looking at one. You can't have a ton of different events. Again, you're probably looking at maybe one thing, one scene. And you're going to want to focus in on that and get in all of the emotional impact and the sensory details that you can just in that short little space. So you have to be very intentional. So you have to be focused and you have to be intentional with your short fiction. Because if you start to go off track, you better forget it. You're going over your word count and you're not going to be able to submit it anyway. So those are your two key things, is your focus and your intention for your short fiction.
And not too many adjectives, probably.
No,
too much description.
The person that I actually spent 5 years learning from Jerry Jenkins.
Okay.
And what he said was, you probably want maybe one adjective if you can get away with it, maybe two, depending on the situation, but usually you're going to stick to one. And I found that actually to be very true. If you have to use two adjectives, your adjective is probably not strong enough. So go and find a really good specific adjective.
I like it. Okay. Tell us about your books. Do you have anything upcoming? What would you like to talk about?
Oh, I write a lot of different things. So I tell people the shortest thing I've written is 100 words, and the longest is about 340,000. So I do about a little bit of everything. Mostly the genres that I have focused on are, I have some contemporary out. I have one that is specifically for adults, so if you're YA, you might want to wait on that one. But the novella I referenced earlier is technically for adults, but again, it's YA friendly. It's about church hurt. That's a really good one. And I have a number of short stories in print in fantasy, science fiction, and contemporary genres. Those are in a bunch of different short story collections. So I have one that's in a sailing collection called Sailing Magic from the Order of the Pen Press, and that's about a ship captain who finds a baby space dragon and she's lost, so he has to help her find her way home. But there's a complication, they're being chased by a monster, and it's a really fun story that just, it's a lot of adventure and friendship. That's a lot of what I love to focus on in stories. So what I'm working on now is actually a science fiction novel, and I tell people it's my space unicorn story. So, but these aren't traditional unicorns. People are afraid of them, and they're afraid of getting murdered, and it's really intense, but it's not horror or anything. It's just it's good old science fiction, adventure fiction. Another big thing that I do a lot of is book reviews for a magazine called Clean Fiction. So I've written, probably 130, 140 of those within the past 2 or 3 years. So if you are looking for good, clean, and or Christian YA fiction, that is an excellent resource. That's Clean Fiction magazine. And you can find them online, on Amazon. They're really easy to find. And they're also on Facebook and Instagram if you like social media updates. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I have worked on. Yeah.
Say, thank you for being in this space. I feel like I've run into so many people who are doing just like the good work of clean, of writing and sharing YA stories that are appropriate, but also just good. Like,
Yeah.
right? It's not just cheesy, light things. We're like, no, let's share some real work here.
Yeah, that's the hard part, is finding stuff that really has that impact, that message, that lasting element. For me, that's what I love when I look for a book, when I look at a book, when I review a book for the magazine. That's one of the big things I look for, is a lasting impact. It's something that I can take away from the book and something I'm going to remember, not just an hour after I read the book, but months later when I'm thinking back on the things that I've read in the past year. That's a really important aspect for me. So that's what I like to promote.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for asking. It was great to talk to you.